Hi guys, this is Mark Davis at Optimum Technology Transfer. Welcome back to you all. In this video, I'm going to take a look at applying conditional formatting to a cell, or to indeed a range of cells in an Excel worksheet. If you've seen one of my other videos where we concentrated on formatting generally, we did something like this. We went from a very bland, plain, ordinary worksheet to something that was, to say the least, a little bit neater, a little bit tidy, a little bit more eye-catching, a little bit easier to read that particular spreadsheet than it is, I think you'll agree, to read this unformatted spreadsheet or worksheet, for example. Okay, so let me go back. Now with conditional formatting, what we can do is to actually make the format that is applied to a particular cell dependent upon the number within the cell. So you might want to, in fact, let me do this. If I just hover over the conditional formatting button, there's a nice tooltip. Easily spot trends and patterns in your data using bars. That's going to be our example today. Colors, icons of one kind or another, for example, to visually highlight important values. Now, okay, fair enough. If I take a close look at this population density data, I can see, but I do have to look quite closely, that this is the highest number, the Netherlands, for example, and several cells down, this is the lowest number, Iceland, for example. But I want a clearer visual clue to which one is the highest and which one is the lowest. And also, really importantly as well, if I make any changes, so for example, if I do increase the population of Switzerland, then its data bar ultimately, or its conditional formatting generally, will change. How does that work? Well, typically, of course, with formatting, you need to select the cells that you want to make a formatting change to. So I've selected my population density cells. I'll click the conditional formatting button, drop down. You've got a lot of different options, a lot of different kind of preset options available. I'm going to go for data bars, and I'm going for a blue solid fill. Click and select. Let me just click away there for the moment. Again, just a nice graphical, clear, obvious visual clue that Netherlands is the country that has the highest population density. And again, as we saw a little bit further down there, Iceland, which has got the lowest population density. So it's a nice graphical way of highlighting a particular value. Also importantly as well, let's make a dramatic change to the population of Switzerland, for example. So I'm just going to F2, add a 0 on the end, and press the return key or enter key, and that's what conditional formatting is all about. It's very, 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 very dynamic, as opposed, of course, to your usual, if you like, static formatting. Let me just Control and Z and undo that for the moment. Now you might feel, let me just go back to the selection of our population density cells. You might think, well, actually that's rather limited. We've only got half a dozen gradient fills and only half a dozen solid fills. But if I click the Manage Rules option, this is where I can make changes to existing rules. I can delete rules, or I can create brand new rules. I'm just going to edit the rule that exists. I'm going to simply double click on the color panel that I've got here, and that will take me to my edit formatting rule dialog box. In the bottom third, I've got the bar appearance. I click on the color drop down. I click and select more colors because I want access to far more colors. And for the RGBs, you guys will use potentially, of course, some kind of logo color that you use within the business, for example. I'm going to use one of the classic colors that we use here at Optimum. So I'm going to 122 for my red, I'm going to 187 for my green, and I'm going to use the number 179 for the blue component. Click OK, click OK, and click OK, and let me just click away to see the effect. The same kind of size, if you like, of data bar, but very different color, of course. And if, let's say, for example, I go back to the Netherlands and I make a large reduction, for example, in the population of the Netherlands, then again the data bars all kind of resize automatically. That's what conditional formatting is all about. Very, very dynamic. I'll just Control and Z, however, for that. Okay, one more thing, guys, before we finish. If you do want to remove any formatting from a selection of cells, or indeed the whole worksheet, yeah, you can go back to the conditional formatting drop down. If it is just a range of cells, then select those cells first of all. You don't have to if it's conditional formatting, clear rules from the entire sheet. A quick Control Home, go back up to the Home cell, and I'll Control S to save that. That's it for this particular video, guys. In a future conditional formatting video, we'll have a look at taking things a little bit further than that. But as I say, that's it from me, Mark Davis at Optimum Technology Transfer. Do look out for my various other Excel videos and a number of other videos, of course, that we have produced and uploaded here to YouTube. Just use the search box in youtube.com and search Optimum Technology Transfer. As I say, that's it from me. Take care and bye-bye. Hi guys, this is Mark Davis at Optimum Technology Transfer. Welcome to you all. In this video, I'm going to take a look at moving from something like this, plain, ordinary, to something like this, more kind of visual impact, as it were, much easier to read, much more legible. You can get your message across to maybe a colleague or a client, for example, with something that looks like this rather than, as I say, something that is pretty plain, to say the least. So how do I go from this to this? Well, I've got my formatting demo sheet here that I'm going to use to illustrate some ideas that will give your worksheets much more impact. Column widths, row heights, typefaces, alignments, number formats, the various things that you can apply to a worksheet for more impact. I'm going to start with the column widths. Click and drag and highlight columns A to D, and I'm going to double click between the C and D to get what's called a best fit, or a fit widest entry. It can look neat, it can look rather untidy, for example, but it's often, I think, personally a good starting point, something to work with. I will then move away from it by columns A and D, click, control click, and just widen column A a little bit, because of course column D is also selected. It too will be widened, so those two columns are exactly the same width now. Same with B and C. I'll just widen columns B and C just a touch, for example. I might come back to that a little bit later on, but it's a pretty good starting point. For example, highlight rows 1 through to 19 and increase just a touch, a pixel or two, increase the row heights. You might feel that's a little bit too high. You can always go back to a best fit with a double click and then maybe try again, as I say, maybe just a pixel or two. I'll leave it like that for the moment, looking okay. You might decide that row 1, because it's the headings, going to be a little bit taller than the rest. You might then decide to kind of space things out, make row 2, which is our first country, a little bit taller, a little bit higher once again, for example. And to pull these headings away from the first row of data, I'm going to middle align, and I'm going to make them bold to make them stand out, and I'm going to bottom border as well, of the various different border styles available. A nice simple bottom border. Borders are very, very useful for kind of separating out various sections, various areas, various parts of your worksheet. Click away just to check it out. Looking good. It's coming along. I mean, there's still quite a bit of work to do, of course, but it's a good start. These numbers, I'm going to click and drag and highlight. Of course, you can use your keyboard. You may know various keyboard shortcuts, of course, to make a selection like that. For example, just use my mouse there. Those cells have a general format, typical Excel default. Drop down, choose more number formats. I'm going to go for the number category. Tick or check the thousands separator, reduce it down to just 1 decimal place, and click OK. Of course, there are other ways to do that. I'll click and drag and highlight columns B and C again, and just increase them, the width of those two columns just a little bit more once again. Coming along, looking good. Again, if I compare that to this, I'm sure you'll agree, got much more impact. It's much easier to interpret, to read. A main heading kind of across the top. I'll right click over one, row 1 that is, of course, choose insert. I will merge and center these 4 cells, because ultimately I want a kind of a main heading at the top, so select 4 cells there, A1 through D1, merge and center. Caps lock is on. I'll leave it on for my main heading, European population data. I turn or enter on that, maybe a bit of an increase in that particular row, higher again. what shall I do? Well, what about a little bit of an increase perhaps in the type size, make it bold, and maybe a middle alignment, for example, on that cell as well, or those 4 merged cells. And again, just click away just to have a look at the result. So far so good. Maybe a bottom border here. Again, border's quite nice to kind of separate out various areas, particularly your headings and your kind of subheadings that we've got. For example, so that's my main heading. I've got some subheadings in here. Again, as I say, it's just a simple bottom border to separate out these different areas, different parts of the worksheet. So it's coming along quite nicely. I'm sure you agree this got a bit more work to do there, but I'm going to leave it like that for the moment. I'm just going to go back and compare. So there's the unformatted version of that particular worksheet, and there is the formatted version of it. And again, I'm sure you'll agree it's got much more kind of impact there. As I say, I'm going to leave it there. There will be other work to do on that to take it further again. But that's it from me, Mark Davis at Optimum Technology Transfer. And good luck, take care, and hope to see you back here in the future. Bye-bye.